Triage is a medical-style support runner here in Marathon. His ultimate job is to keep the team healthy, keep the team alive on their feet, and to help stabilize gunfights as a byproduct. He's the runner you decide to use when you want your team to survive longer, recover faster, and stay in the fight. So today we're going to talk everything Triage so that by the end of the video you will be well acquainted and you will have an idea of how to use him to the best of your ability. Let's start with discussing who Triage is actually for, okay? Triage is of course going to be best for players who enjoy running that support role. So if you're a player that's comfortable with being second contact or being more of an anchor, which if you're second contact, that just simply means that you're not the person entry fragging, you're the person that fires second or that engages in the fight second, or if you are the anchor, you're the person that sits in the back and that takes peek shots whenever they need to, but you let your homies do majority of the fighting and you come in for cleanup duty again if needed. Not to mention when you are running anchor, you are solely focused on support and trying to keep your team healthy, engaged, and in the fight. He's actually a really good runner for people who are just looking for a runner that is a little bit more straightforward so that they can focus on the gameplay loop and just enjoying the game in totality. Alongside that, he's a strong choice for my people that are solo queuing in fills, because we all know when you are solo queue filling, you are going to run into some teammates that may not communicate the best, that may find themselves in gunfights, and you can healthily support them without them getting put down and you all getting put into a handicap situation. So again, from a role standpoint, Triage is really easy to comprehend because his job and or his role is very clear. Now let's talk about Triage's abilities here real quick, and we're going to start with his prime ability, also known as his ultimate ability, and this is called Reboot Plus. This is when you can lock on to a down teammate, although I say lock on tongue-in-cheek because you do have to actually aim and hit that respective teammate. And this will allow for you to revive that crew member, whether if they are in the down but not out state or if they're fully eliminated. And it does not matter if they are locked or their revive is on a cooldown, you can still revive them instantaneously. If there is a hostile player or enemy AI combatant nearby, it can EMP them as well, which would completely put their systems in disarray and give you all an opportunity to reset, escape, or do whatever you need to do to fight back. Triage's tactical ability is known as Med Drone, and this is where you drop a drone that attaches to a crew member, and this drone will slowly over time restore their health and or shield, whichever one takes precedent. Also, it actually will prevent your teammate from bleeding out when they are in that down but not out state. And this is really useful because it can help sustain your squad when you're in those long drawn out fights. You all are nickel and diming one another. It can keep your squad mates as healthy as possible so they don't have to worry about burning shield charges or patch kits for small amounts of damage here and there. Triage's first trait, Shareware.exe, actually builds off of that med drone, and this is when your crew members benefit from medical consumables that you decide to use. So as long as your teammate has one of the med drone buddies alongside them, if you use a patch kit or a shield charge, it will actually apply to them as well. Same thing for other consumables like cardio kicks, signal jammers, and things of that nature. And when you really look at Shareware, this is where Triage becomes much more important, and this is where Triage really becomes that medical individual. When you all are in gunfights, you aren't just healing yourself, you're actually operating as the medic for everybody in your team. So if they are on the front lines and they're trading damage with the opposition and you're playing again that second contact and or that anchor role, you can have the opportunity to put on a patch kit, put on the shield charge, and keep your homies healthy in the midst of that gunfight. Triage's second trait is known as Battery Overcharge, and this is when you can boost your weapon performance at the cost of additional heat. And while this is active, when you break a target shield with a Volt weapon, you actually EMP them. So again, you send their systems into disarray, and this can slightly turn the tides of a fight or put you in a position where if you guys are both cracked, you can reposition, reset, heal up, and then engage that gunfight again when you deem it suitable. So again, this further gives Triage value as a support style runner. If you are playing that anchor or that second contact role and you do crack somebody with your Volt weapon, it can EMP them while your teammate is approaching from the flank or whatever the case may be. Your teammate gets the knock, you guys can clean up and just continue to roll from there. Now, when it comes to Triage, I want to talk about what its win condition is like, or what that looks like. Now, in standard context, a win condition would be, hey, look, this is something we set before we go into a raid. When we accomplish this thing, our win condition is met. Let's go ahead and let's exfil. But the definition slightly changes when we're talking about utilizing a win condition for a runner. This is more like executing that respective runner's role that will allow for you to be in the best position possible to win the respective gunfights or to accomplish those respective win conditions that you set on the raid. So with that being said, Triage has a couple win conditions that compile upon one another. And these win conditions are things like keeping your team alive as long as possible. using your abilities before going down if you know for a fact that you are probably going to get put down, trying to empty out your kit so that way you do not go down with 2 med drones on standby, creating reset and or recovery opportunities for not just you but your entire team. And again, just to make sure you are emptying your kit with purpose instead of getting put down with everything available, because it's the worst feeling in the world when your team gets eliminated fully and you know for a fact you may have had an opportunity to prevent that by dropping your med drones and pulling back and popping heals that could have possibly given your team a chance to fight back. So again, if you get put down first and or you get put down with the full kit, you probably are not approaching triage the right way. Now, further hitting home a point that I've been referencing throughout this video so far, discussing triage's best role. And again, we've already somewhat discussed it, but I will touch on it again just for the sake of this video. As a triage player, you want to either be A, running anchor, or B, running second contact if you know you got hands like that, okay? If you are a triage player, you should not be entry fragging, all right? Now, there may be some cases where you get caught off guard and you just have to fight back, and that's just the way of the road, you know? In that instance, you don't run away and just ask your teammates, hey, please, I want you all to fire the first shot, I'm going to drop back. Like, no, you're probably going to get knocked if you do that. So in some of those instances, you do have to fight back and you do have to be first contact. Cool. But if it is a premeditated attack, if you all see a team and you all are planning your course of action there, you should not be the first one to dive in and send it. No, not at all. And part of the reason is because I truly believe triage is best played when he is slightly behind his teammates. Again, if the teammates are positioned ahead of you and you are a row or a beat back, I think that is when triage is his strongest, because you are in a position where you can throw a med drone to a teammate and you are out of harm's way. For the most part, you can start popping those heals, or if your teammate's trying to get their ability back, you can pop an energy amp to kind of help that tactical cooldown come back. So again, they can be in that position to further pursuit, right? Like, imagine your teammate is a recon and they're just trying to get intel and they're 20 seconds from getting their little robot homie back, and you pop an energy amp, they get their little robot homie back, they can throw it, it tracks down that first opposition, it overheats them. Now you all can make a play and adjust your plan accordingly based off of that. You see what I'm saying? So again, triage playing back is going to be ideal. But with that being said, you shouldn't just be sitting back there on your thumbs looking goofy, right? You should be looking for supporting angles, right? You should be maneuvering slightly if you have the opportunity to, and maybe if you have an opportunity to position yourself to take shots and apply pressure on the opposition, that can help your teammates make a play off of that accordingly. So again, I'm not saying as triage you should not be firing your gun at all. No, not at all. But you should be playing, again, more of that support role / cleanup role / applying pressure when needed, especially if your teammates need to get out of harm's way. So remember, triage can take fights, but that should not be his default identity, for lack of a better term. Because remember, when it's all said and done, if triage goes down first, your team loses a massive amount of sustain and or reset potential. Now let's slightly pivot and talk about loadout philosophy when we are running triage. Now, for the most part, I would say that this is going to be personal preference, but I want to build a loadout more so around that specific support role, okay? So primarily, when you are running triage, you want to have a primary weapon that has some sort of range, right? Whether if you're running a precision rifle or you use something like, what is it called? Is it the BR-33 volley rifle? I may not have those numbers right because I'm terrible with names, but the 3-round burst, I believe that's the volley rifle, right? Use something like that, just something that you know for a fact you can engage in gunfights at that, let's say 30 to 40 meter range, or 20 to 40 meter range, and still apply a lot of pressure, possibly get a good pick so that your teammates can continue to further engage and further attack from whatever respective angle they want to attack from. And by you using something that has a bit of range, that's going to keep you safer. And look, if you get cracked and you get put down to one shot, you have an opportunity to peel away and get behind cover and heal up in much more of a safer fashion, because you know for the opposition to get to you, they have to first travel quite a bit, and 2, they have to get through your teammates, which could open things up for your teammates to have a trade opportunity, even though it wouldn't actually be a trade since you are still alive. So we could probably say that fits fits more into the bait and switch category. So again, a precision rifle here, or if you are really nasty with the sniper like the long shot or something like that, you can definitely rock out with it. And then when it comes to your secondary weapon, you definitely should have something for CQC, whether if you're running the Waster shotgun or if you're running an SMG like me. I love running the bully. Like, I am just a bully enthusiast. Like, nobody will ever take me off of that. I will run a bully until the day that I am no longer a runner. You know, some people may use the Bird SMG instead. Again, that's a bit more preferential, but ultimately just have something for CQC in case somebody pops up on you. Like, let's say you're fighting a team and they have an assassin. That assassin gets through your front lines and they try to take you out because they understand how important you are as a triage. Look, you got to have something on deck to be able to combat that assassin. So as you're building out this loadout, remember, you want to have a loadout that is going to give you the best opportunity to survive as long as possible, so you can use your kit to further support your teammates and to not force you into taking bad fights. Now, when it comes to cores and implants, I'll be a little bit more general here. You want to utilize any core and or implant that is going to help you get your tactical and or prime ability back as fast as possible here. So if we're talking implants, right, we want to make sure we're speccing into that prime ability region, that tactical ability region, things of that nature. And when we're talking cores, maybe we utilize cores that will help us. So when we defeat UESC combatants, our tactical cooldown time is decreased, or anything of that nature. The more we can spec into that, the better. Or if you're utilizing a core, like I believe there are cores out there that do provide your teammates with buffs after you have revived them via the Reboot Plus. So there are things like that. There are things that will help your overall med drone efficacy, you know, things of that nature. Make sure you spec into those things as much as possible, because again, those are going to be the things that will keep your team healthy. Now, slightly pivoting here, I want to talk about what are the best runners to use in tandem with triage. Now, of course, when you're solo queuing, you don't have a say-so in regard to what the runners are that you queue with. But if you're running in a full 3-stack, I would always say to run with at least one assassin on your team, okay? And then that third runner can be a little bit more of a preference call. Now, the reason why I say assassin is so important to utilize alongside a triage is because of the smoke screen, right? Assassin has the ability to drop smoke when the assassin drops off of high ground or for their prime ability, right? And that smoke can be a game changer when it comes to utilizing triage's revive capabilities, such as the Reboot Plus. So imagine this scenario: your third gets put down and they are out in the open. So what does assassin do? Assassin drops smoke on that runner, on that teammate, and that gives you the opportunity to use your Reboot Plus, get them up and get them in a position where they can retreat unscathed, right? Or with the least amount of pressure as possible, let's say. Now, not only does it do that, it may even open up a small window to attack the opposition, because you'll run into teams that are playing very aggressive, and some teams may try to push that smoke. And guess what? When they push that smoke, as your teammate retreated, you and your homeboy that is the assassin are ready to rock and roll. You all have your SMG or your shotgun ready to rock. And the moment you see a glimpse of a pixel, you go ahead and let off. Now you all were able to trade out your teammate, and you all are now in a 3v2 situation. Once the smoke clears, you all are going to be good to go, ready to rock, you know? So it's great to have an assassin on your team, because that assassin can create confusion while you have the opportunity to apply recovery. I will say, if you have a say-so in that third runner, it would be nice to run maybe a recon, because man, the trifecta of intel, confusion, and recovery will be a game changer. If you're in that similar situation, you can smoke out, recon can use their prime ability, and you all have a better idea of where the opposition could be. Hey, from that point on, you all know what to do. Plan accordingly and handle business. Now, with that all being said, triage is a flexible pick, so it doesn't matter if you're running with a destroyer or you're running with a thief. That's all fine, but I'm saying in terms of best team synergy, having an assassin by your side will be in your best interest. Now, before we close out, I just want to talk about a few things that I want you all to keep in mind as you're running triage. The first thing is, I want you all to remember, if you have not gotten the picture by now, you may never get the picture, but I would assume you have. Anyways, I want you all to remember that triage is not meant to be the main fragger, okay? So don't play triage like he's a duelist. Don't play him like he's meant to be entry fragging, and don't force entry fights with him, right? Communicate with your teammates and let your teammates that are playing more aggressive runners open it up for you. Triage is meant to play off of that, not to be the person to open it up. Remember that when playing Triage, you are your strongest when you are alive and when you have the opportunity to support. If you get put down on hands and knees first, your team is pretty much up out of there. And this leads me to my next thing that I want you all to keep in mind. If Triage gets put down first, your team is in dire trouble. Now, it isn't the end-all be-all, but think about what your team loses when you are a Triage and you get put down first. You lose the ability to be passively healed. You lose the ability to be revived almost instantaneously. And when you lose that revive opportunity, you lose one of your biggest assets in regard to resetting. And in a game like this, resetting is borderline essential because people are trying to play in an intelligent fashion and they're not just running and gunning like lunatics, at least in most cases. So when you are a Triage player, your positioning matters much more than the average runner. The next thing I want you all to keep in mind is that Triage's abilities are really strong, but also remember they are not instant. To use his prime ability, it takes a bit of planning. Why? Because when you activate it, it takes 2 to 3 seconds to actually activate. And then when you try to use the Reboot Plus, it takes a couple seconds to charge up. When you fire out your reboot ropes or whatever you want to call them, your reboot tentacles, it actually takes a second or two to revive that teammate, and then it takes them a second or two to get moving. So you have to plan accordingly and make sure you communicate your plans. So that way your teammates can make plays off of that. And then also too, remember that his med drones are not an instant buyout because the healing is really, really slow and it's passive. Not just that, if you plan on using the Shareware intrinsic trait, it's going to take a bit of time for you to get set up. You're going to have to throw a med drone. The drone is going to have to connect with that teammate, and you're going to have to drop back and put yourself in a position to where you can use a shield charge and or a patch kit. And even then, the healing takes time. It's not going to be instantaneous. So don't play recklessly. Encourage your teammates not to play recklessly because Triage's kit is not an instant bailout. And the last thing I want you all to keep in mind is that communication when running Triage is essential. Make sure you communicate with your teammates when you're going for a reboot, when you're trying to set up a med drone. Always talk to them. And if you're not using game chat, use text chat. If you're not using text chat, use the ping wheel to the best of your ability. So that way your teammates always have an idea of what's going on and they can support you. If you are in the game chat, communicate with your teammate, ask them to support you as you go to try to reboot that teammate that just got fully eliminated. If they can smoke out, awesome. If they can take some of the aggro, awesome. Whatever they need to do to protect you so you can bring the teammate back up to optimal position and give you all the best opportunity to reset, that's going to be in everybody's best interest, and that cannot happen if we are not communicating. So with this all being said, I hope that this triage guide was helpful to you all. If it was not helpful, I apologize for wasting your time, but if it was helpful, please let me know down in the comments below if you would be so kind to take out the time to do so. Also, let me know by liking the video, possibly hyping the video if you have the opportunity to do that. I still don't really know how to do that, but if you do, awesome. Even if you don't do any of those things, just know that I love you. Truly, I love you to life. I hope you all have an incredible day, have an incredible week, and have an incredible freaking life. Until next time, though, it's been your boy Cray. I am signing out. Let me know if there are any other guides you all are looking for, whether if it's runner specific, map specific, or anything like that. I will do my best to compile something. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one.